Hello and welcome to another episode of GoalTime. I am so excited today because I was born in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and I grew up in a pretty challenging childhood where a lot of people around me weren't positive role models, and I didn't have anyone around me to show me that people from my neighborhood could achieve amazing things. Well, today's guest, his name is Ken Bouchard. And he has achieved amazing things, and I can't wait to introduce you to him as well. So here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Bouchard.
Hi, Jim. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Ken. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. This really means a lot to me that you're here. The Bouchard family has meant so much to me because, as I mentioned, as a little kid, I didn't have a lot of hope for myself. I didn't have a lot of hope for a positive future. My biological father was in jail more than at home, and there was alcoholism and violence in the home. It wasn't pretty. So all of a sudden I see these Bouchard boys from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and I see them achieving these goals in car racing. And it was the first time in my life that I thought, hey, they're from Fitchburg and they're achieving pretty cool stuff. Maybe I can too. So you guys gave me the hope and the inspiration that, hey, somebody from my neighborhood can achieve cool things. So I want to start off the show for thanking you and your family for giving me that hope.
Oh, I'm glad we helped you out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about this racing career, not a usual occupation, right?
Not really, I guess. It's probably not for everybody.
Well, certainly was for you guys, and you made it all the way to the highest level of car racing, driving against some of the greatest drivers in the world. I mean, people don't have to be necessarily racing fans out there, but you probably recognize some names like Dale Earnhardt Sr., the King, Richard Petty. Well, Kenny raced against those guys, and we're going to get into all of that. But I first want to hear about your journey through the ranks. How did you start out car racing? How do you do that, especially coming from the Northeast in Fitchburg, Mass?
Yeah, well, it's kind of fell into it, I guess. Our dad owned Red and White Movers in Fitchburg, so we all worked together as a family. And our neighbor next door was he was friends with Ronnie, my brother Ronnie, and they used to go to, his father would take him to Westboro, so they asked Ronnie to go with him to watch the races. So Ronnie went and he liked it, and he went a couple weekends with them, and then the kid's father couldn't make it, so he talked my father into bringing him. So they went to Westboro with my father. My father liked it, and they were sitting in the grandstand aside of this lady, and Ronnie was talking about Pete Salvador.
Yep.
How good he told my father to watch him because he was really good. And the lady sitting aside of my dad was his wife.
Oh,
so she started talking to my father. I said, after the race was over, they went down in the pits and talked with Pete Salvador. And next thing you know, my father was sponsoring his car. And then down the road, the next year, my father built a new car and had Pete drive it. And my father owned it. So we were going to the races ever since I was 2 years old, Westboro with Seekonk. And
so started out as a fan,
yep,
right? And then put yourself into the environment around the racers, and an opportunity came up to sponsor a car.
Right.
Right. Then he got into sponsorships and then ended up building his own.
Yeah. And then when Ronnie used to work on the car, and I'd go down there and get in everybody's way because I was younger. But then as it went going, Ronnie got old enough to drive, so he started driving my father's car.
Wow, excellent. That was the number 2 modified car?
Two modified car, red and white movers on it.
Yep, that's right. I remember the red and white movers as well. Okay.
Yeah, well, the first time he drove it Pete was supposed to drive it, but he was moving and fell down and broke his leg.
Oh no.
So they were at the racetrack waiting for him at Brookline Speedway in Brookline, New Hampshire. And Ronnie, they were waiting for Pete to come. He never showed up, so practice was getting to the end. So Ronnie said, I'll take it out, warm it up. So he took it out, warmed it up, because he used to go out and ride with Pete in the car and sometimes.
All right, so how old was he at this point?
He was like 14, I believe.
14 years old.
Yes. And so he said, no, the heats are coming, and Pete still wasn't there yet. And so Ronnie said, well, I'll just ride around the back of the heat and qualify it so that when he gets here for the feature, he can run the feature. Well, feature time comes, still no Pete. So Ronnie said, I'll go out and run the feature. So he went out and started the feature, started in the back, and he worked his way up through and ended up winning the race.
14 years old.
14 years old.
First race he ever raced.
First race he ever was in the race, and he won it. Yeah.
So at that point, we realized that the Bouchards, it was meant to be, they were supposed to be in racing.
Well, yeah, I guess so. It was just kept growing from there. I guess I
Yeah.
started working on his car. Then when I got old enough, I ended up doing my own car, and I started driving it.
Excellent. So that's what I wanted to hear about because your brother's had amazing success. He's won the 1981 Talladega 500.
Yeah.
He won it. He won the Rookie of the Year in 1981, and he went on to have a heck of a career at NASCAR's highest division. But I really want to talk all about Ken Bouchard because your own career has been amazing. You're a near Hall of Famer yourself in the Modified division, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So tell me about okay. So now you're the younger kid. You're in the garage. You're turning wrenches. You're going to the racetracks. Was it your goal to get behind the wheel and drive the car?
Yeah, it was once I got old enough, and I really wasn't old enough either. But Anthony Vendetti was running Westboro and Seekonk back then. And he said, "Well, just say you're 16. Don't say you're big enough. Don't tell anybody."
Oh,
So
wow.
he let us give us permission to do it.
Wow, excellent. So at 16 years old, you start racing
Right.
cars. Now, because people aren't perhaps as familiar as we are about car racing, what do you think are the key attributes, or what does it take for a personality or for attributes? What's it take to be a race car driver?
Well, I don't know what it really takes. I guess everybody's different. You can look at all the drivers that are out there. What's the driver look like? They all look different.
That's
Some
absolutely
are big, some are small. You don't really know. It's then there's some of it. I think is talent's got to be kind of built in you.
That's what I
You know what
wanted
I
to
mean?
get
That
at.
natural talent thing is. Yeah, you've seen a lot of people. Some of them, you got to work at it to get it, and other ones you kind of got it right away. But then you gotta still work on it and adjust your ability to it.
Yeah. How would you describe yourself when you first started? Did you have a lot of fear, or did you have too much confidence? Did they have to slow you down, or did they have to try to get you to go faster? How were you at the very beginning as a driver?
Yeah, I was because I was going to races. Like I said, like I'm 2 years old, and I've been watching Pete and then Ronnie drive, and so I had a lot of looking ability watching. So I was one of the type that you had to slow down. I was like a maniac out there.
Right. Right.
So once we got it calmed down, of course my brother helped me with that stuff too. Having somebody like that to talk to, be
Sure.
that close.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Back in them days, we didn't have driving schools or like driver coaches. Now they have coaches and driving schools. We ran a school for a while at Thompson Speedway, and we enjoyed it and helped a lot of people up along the ranks.
Yeah. Excellent. So do you think it's easier to take a driver and get them to slow down, or do you think it's easier to take a driver that's a little timid and going to protect the car and themselves better and try to get them to go faster? What do you think is easier to do from a coaching standpoint?
My personality is I'd like to have them want to go and slow them down. Then when they can't quite get it to go, it takes them longer to learn that and get to that ability.
To get that confidence, or
Right,
to get the
build
guts, or
build it up, because it's hard back in them days too. You didn't have no tracks you could go test at usually, and that. So you would kind of like you go to the racetrack and you got it thrown in there. Here you go, run the heat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. So now, it almost sounds like very similar to musicians, that if you grew up in a family that was full of singers and piano players and guitar players, you just became a musician and an artist. And it sounds like it's the same for you guys. You just grew up in the racing environment and you just became a racer.
Yeah, so the racing environment, like you're saying, is really family oriented. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, we went there watching
Right.
as a family, and
Absolutely.
then we got involved in it. But we always went to the races as a family. My sister, my mother, my brother, and then Ronnie's kids. And then when they grew up enough, and then everybody would go to the racetrack with us.
Yeah.
And it's a good spot. You know where your kids were. My dad used to tell his friends, how you let your kid race like that? I said, well, because I can pick up the phone and I know where I can call the shop right now and he's there working on his race car.
Oh, yeah.
I know he ain't out partying and drinking and stuff because he's saving his money for tires and getting the car ready, So
That's true. I mean, you mentioned Westboro Speedway. I'm growing up as a kid, I spent all my weekends at the racetracks. And my high school friends, I never really got really close to them because on the weekends they would be doing their thing, playing football and going to high school parties, but we were always at the racetracks. And that was our family, was the families that that would also be racers.
Right, right.
Now, did you have any goals or dreams or any other ideas as to what you wanted to be in your life or career aspirations other than racing, or is it just it's what you were in, it's what you knew, and you just
Yeah, it was kind of what we did,
yeah.
When we had the trucking company, and stuff too. We all worked there during the day, and then at night we worked on the race cars and stuff. But we were always together. We had you had your crew chief and your motor man and stuff. Everybody always hung out together, and
Yeah.
during the week, and then the weekends we were, like you say, we went from Westboro to Seekonk to Tarpon to Stafford.
Stafford, yeah.
We were all over the place on the weekends.
Monadnock and Lee and Hudson. And
Yeah,
New England has a great racing scene that a lot of people, if you're not in it, you might not be aware of. But
absolutely.
there are tracks all over New England that, yeah, pretty amazing. So, all right, so now you get, what did you started out in what division? What
I
type
started
of
out at
cars?
Seekonk in the B division. It was like the late model class.
Okay, so now
Back then
these
it was
these are
the
more.
modifieds were A's and the B's were the late models.
All right, and then for people not familiar, these are more like the cars that you're buying on the lots.
Right, it
These
was
aren't-
like I had a '66 Chevelle.
Right. Okay, great. So now, how did you get to your next level of racing?
Well, we went then. We won some races with that division, and we took that car and went to Oxford, Maine, and then had the 100-lap Getty Opens there. We won one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And then the phone kind of started ringing, and some of the modified owners were looking for drivers, and I got mentioned at a few places, and the guy called me up, and I would start running some of their races in the modifieds, and which is a kind of a big step because the cars have got a lot more motor, wider tires, and they were a lot faster.
Now you're getting up over 700 horsepower and
Right.
200 miles an hour without
Right.
governors and the whole bit.
So it takes a little adjustment, but
Right.
I guess luckily I did fairly good because I kept getting some rides and offers,
Yeah.
and then we of course we built our own modified car too. We had it red and white, and when we didn't have a ride in somebody else's car, I'd run that car and go to run my own car at different tracks,
And it was that the 55 car?
That was the 35 car.
Oh,
back
35
then,
car, that's right. The red and white.
55 car belonged to Teddy Marsh, and I ended up
Got
driving
it.
for him after that.
All right, great. So if people don't know a lot about racing, there are local racetracks in New England, and you grab a car and you take out all the glass and you add roll bars and other things, and then you go racing. And you can climb the ranks and get into higher divisions. But what Kenny's talking about is that there's a division called the Modified division, and when you make it into the Modified division, this is when your career can really take a hockey stick trajectory. On TV, you might recognize the NASCAR Cup Series. There was the Xfinity Series, which was Busch North back in the day.
Right.
Then the Craftsman Truck Series. Those are the three series that you might see on TV on Saturdays and Sundays. Right below that division is the Modified division, which actually was the first division ever in NASCAR, was the Modified division.
Right, it's your oldest division.
So now you've got some pretty big people in the industry nationally recognizing Kenny Bouchard, and you're winning races. One year you won, was it 11 races you won in 1 year?
Yes.
In the Modified division,
In the modified division, yes.
right? And then
Yeah,
how
and
did
the
you?
Yankee All-Star League championship we won too.
Oh, yeah, amazing. So awesome career. So now, how do you get to those top three divisions? How do you get into was the Busch Series and then
Right.
NASCAR Cup?
Right. We ended up building our own Busch car for super speedways. Because now you're going from a short track to a speedway, and some drivers didn't like that extra speed or the big track with a high bank. Like Richie Evans. Richie Evans in the modified chain was 8-time champion in the modified.
Still, my opinion, the greatest modified driver that ever lived. No,
Yeah,
no
I
disrespect to
agree
you
with
and
I
Ronnie.
agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
But he didn't really like the speedways. He went there and did it for points with the modified when he had to, but he didn't really like that speedway stuff.
yeah,
When Ronnie went down south in the late model and the cup deal, he liked it. So I'm back here still running the modifieds, doing good, and I'm like, well, I got to decide, see if I like that or not either. See if I wanted my career to keep, going to speedways and to late models and Winston Cup. And so we built our own late model car because we needed there again. The phone went ringing for me to drive at Daytona at in the Busch race because I got no experience in it. So you got to learn to find a way to get your own experience. Either you got to pay for it or you got to build your own car and do it. So
Right.
that's what we did. We built a car to go to Daytona, and
Wow.
our first time we went to Daytona, we ended up 11th. Our goal was to be in the top 10.
Now this is a small team. This is
Small team out of Fitchburg, yeah.
wow. Going
And,
to Daytona and finishing 11th.
Finished 11th, yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we missed our goal by one spot, but we almost had it. We were glad what we had.
Well, that's a heck of an accomplishment, just achieving that. But now you're getting more eyeballs on you at the same
Yeah,
time.
that's where it starts from. And then we took that car, we went to Dover and ran in the top 15 all day long. So stuff like that, it started getting a little more recognition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well deserved and earned in a team that's smaller, not the same, less resources, less experience, less everything, right?
Yeah, we were learning a speedway car, which is totally different. All that aerodynamic stuff, and
Yeah.
we got a little bit in the modified, but we had more horsepower. We didn't have to worry about it. The horsepower pulled us through. But speedway, you're talking about drafting and
Right.
learning all that stuff. It's a whole different ball game, and it was really I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and I liked the speed. Didn't bother me. So
See, what I love about what you just said is that what most people would think of as that's crazy, that's nuts, that would scare the heck out of me, you enjoyed it. So
Yes.
to just, you're a racer, and you were
Right.
born to be a racer, and that natural instinct was inside of you already from that young age.
it was there. Yeah, the thing that scared me the most was now I'm going down south, and I'm racing against my heroes: Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, Junior, Dale Jr., all the people that you looked up to and watched, and when you got the TV to watch on the weekend somewhere, And now I'm racing. Now I'm starting to starting to side of Richard Petty. I'm like, this guy. But come to find out, they're all were very nice. They're all like family. The same deal. They grew up in it. They're all family, all hanging out together.
Yeah, but that's like a baseball player growing up watching Ted Williams, and now you're playing against him.
Yeah.
Right. So now,
Absolutely.
so let's stay there a minute, because I think people would be really fascinated to hear. You show up at the racetrack, you're going to be competing against your heroes, people that you've been seeing on TV, that you idolize, that are the greatest drivers in the world. You show up to compete against them. What's going on in the head of Kenny Bouchard in regards to you belonging to be there, your motivation, your confidence, doubt? What was going on inside your head?
Yeah, well, you gotta kind of work your way into it, because now we're going to play in their ball field.
And you're from the Northeast.
They'd come sometimes to come play with us with the modifieds a little bit, but not much, right? And we had a lot of heroes. My heroes in modifieds: Bugsy Stevens, Ed Flemke, Richie Evans, Jerry Cook. We had good drivers too, but now you're going. It's a whole different ball field. You're going into their backyard, and you gotta kind of watch your P's and Q's, because you don't want to step on anybody's toes. That could, you give you a hard time just getting in the family deal.
Right. I mean, total respect.
Oh yes,
right?
absolutely.
Right. But now, how do you strap on your helmet and you're like, okay, I can't be in awe of these guys. It's go time. Let's go. Were you able to flick that switch, or did that take some time?
It took a little time, but it was there, kind of right there from the beginning.
Because you can't race scared.
No, I guess I don't think you could. I don't know. I guess if I was scared, I wouldn't have went on the big tracks and stuff like Richie did, and kind of like it, so he didn't do it.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. All right. So now with a little less than 10 minutes left, I want to ask you for some stories. Right. So what was the racing memory that you can think of that was the most scariest for you? Were you ever what was the worst accident or the time you were most scared that you ever experienced?
Oh boy. I had some fender benders. Everybody does when you race, but
Injuries.
I guess the one time I got hurt at Oswego, New York, in the modified race, and for some reason me and Brian Ross banged wheels, and I spun out in turn one, and the kid coming in the coupe, first time he ever drove a modified, he panicked and locked the brakes up, and he come in and hit me in the driver's door with the front bumper.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of went through the roll cage into a car that was built, it was Dick Armstrong's car. It was built with chrome moly, and they welded it too much heat.
Okay.
Kind of bars kind of split like glass, you know, kind of broke, and the frame rail came in, cut me in the side.
Oh, my gosh.
So when they took me to the hospital, I was like going in and out of consciousness. And for some reason, it was like we flew there with our friend Wes Sleeper, me and Ronnie and Wes in his plane. He had a Piper Cub, and it was a nice plane. And for some reason, I in my mind, I had it that I was in an airplane. We crashed in the plane, and I kept wanting to know where I wanted to see Ronnie. I kept saying, "Where's Ronnie?" The Dick Armstrong was at the hospital with me. I'm saying, "Where's Ronnie?" Ronnie, he kept telling me he's at the racetrack running, you know.
Still at the race.
Yeah, and I just couldn't concentrate. I just for sure thought he was like hurt, and they wouldn't, you know.
Oh,
and
wow.
they wouldn't let me know, you know. And they get me in the bed. I'm ripping the sides of the beds off, trying to get up.
Wow.
They had to kind of chain me to it, you know, the bed, you know. But
Wow.
finally, once I got to see Ronnie, I started calming down.
Wow, that's amazing.
But,
wow, that's
that was
scary.
probably one of my worst ones, I think.
Yeah, it sounds that. Yeah. And then when it comes to racing, you know that there's a risk. It's a dangerous sport. People
Yep.
crash. People, unfortunately, end up dying.
Yep.
What was the worst thing you've ever experienced on a racetrack that perhaps happened to one of your fellow racers?
Oh boy! Anytime you see one of your fellow friends racing and get hurt or pass away, you know, it's kind of a hard. We've had a couple at like Thompson Speedway.
Baldwin?
Baldwin, yeah, Tommy Baldwin.
Tiger Baldwin.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
One of the best.
And
you were in the race at the time?
yeah, I was in that race too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he just got into wet grass. You know, we had rain delay deal, and
I was at the race.
Yeah,
My father and I was at the race, and they came out of turn 2, I believe.
turn two and got down under somebody, and they banged.
They banged.
Slid him down in the infield.
And it rained all day long.
Right.
But they dried the track off.
Yeah.
The track was perfect. But as soon as he hit the grass, he hydroplaned. It was like ice.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a pretty bad experience. How do you, as a race car driver, after experiencing your own bad wreck or witnessing a friend get injured or even dying, how do you not shake it off, but how do you get back in the car and do it again?
Yeah, it's one of those things, and you don't really know what it's going to be like. Like when I got hurt, or you see Tommy, you know, get killed, you don't know how it's going to affect you until you get strapped yourself back in that race car and go. And I've known some people that done it, strap back in and go, and then they come out and they say, I can't do it no more, I'm done.
They just lost that edge.
Yeah, you lose that feeling of inside, that gut feeling you got, and then you can't do it.
As soon as you become scared, it's over.
Right, you don't really know that until you try and do it again. So.
Right. All right, let's move on to happier times.
Yeah, that would be good.
I appreciate you sharing that because it's
no
very
problem.
real. You know, people see these people doing this on TV, but there's a very high risk to it, and I appreciate you sharing that. The moment you're most proud of as a race car driver.
Oh boy, there's been quite a few of those, but I think winning the Winston Cup Rookie of the Year in '88. My brother won Winston Rookie of the Year in '81, and I won in '88, and we're still the only two brothers ever to do it. So.
Imagine that. Think about that.
From Fitchburg, Mass.
In all of NASCAR history, only 2 brothers have both won NASCAR's Rookie of the Year at the highest level, and it's Ron and Kenny Bouchard from Fitchburg, Massachusetts. The Pettys didn't do it. The Allisons, the Yalboroughs, the Waltrips, the Bushes, Bodines. No one has ever done it, but the 2 Bouchards from Fitchburg, the only 2 to have both won Rookie of the Year at NASCAR's highest level. That's amazing. So that is something to be pretty darn proud about.
It is, and my mom and dad was really proud of it, and we owe a lot to them, putting up with us through all those years.
Yeah. And the funny thing too is that you see these people on TV and you know, and they're winning, and there's trophies, and they have all this fame, and you think they're making all this money, but back in your day, you really weren't making that much money. These guys would come home at the end of racing all weekend, and they'd jump back on the moving truck, right?
Yeah. And if we had a bad weekend, my father wasn't in a good mood, and all the help was mad at us. So we had to try to do good because keep my dad happy.
And then the Bouchards have auto dealerships, and I heard stories that after the races, as drivers, you guys would go shop around for cars down south because they didn't have rust.
Right.
And you'd bring muscle cars from the 80s and 90s
Yeah.
back up north to sell them, and that's how the Bouchard dealerships get started.
Yeah. That's the
amazing.
older pickup trucks going down south were still in great shape. You
Yeah.
bring them here, and then people would buy them up left and right, because they were in good shape.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's funny. What's the moment in your racing career? What is something that happened on the track that made you the angriest?
Had a lot of those angry moments. Really, not one kind of pops into mind that's worse than any other ones, I guess. Probably the one at Waterford Speed Bowl in New London, Connecticut, with Leo Cleary. I was 2 laps to go. I caught him I had to start in the back, and he was up front, and he was leading. I caught him down the backstretch, and I got under him going into turn 3, and he kind of come down on me because I was the youngster getting into modifieds, and he was the guy with the experience.
Leo the Lion.
And he didn't want to give up the win to me, so he come down, and we ended up hitting together, and we both went up in the middle of 3 and 4 and got in the wall. It broke the tie rod end of my car. He just barely hit the wall, but he stalled out too for some reason.
So neither one of you crossed the finish line.
We're looking across on the start-finish line. The guy's waving the checkered flag, and that's the distance we had to go. And of course, it was my own car, so that hurt my pocketbook. Besides my feelings.
That's right.
And but after that, I guess Leo finally accepted me, because I told him I ain't letting off no more. I used to have to let off and let him do that. He thought I was gonna, but I said I was in there clean. I said, that's time to make my move in the modifieds, that I'm here.
Yep. So whether it's your age being very young, or whether it's you being from the north and you're driving down south to do what was then a southern sport, you're not going to get the respect until you earn the respect.
Right.
But then you get the respect, and
Yeah.
who are your biggest rivals?
Oh man, me and Brett Bonine had to kind of going against each other because we had the brothers in the cup deals.
Yeah, because Ronnie and Jeff were going at it as rivals.
They were going at it, and we kind of went out of me, but we were, we ended up being real good friends, Brett and me.
Wow.
But we had some good races together,
Yeah.
rubbing and banging. And
excellent. Well, with 30 seconds left, let me just thank you again for being my guest. I really appreciate it. Kenny and I also do some work. We bring a race car to a company, and we turn all the employees into pit crew members. And they don't know what they're doing at the beginning of the day, but we teach them how to jack up a car, take tires off, put them back on, add fake fuel to the car, etc. And it's a blast, a great team building event. If anyone's interested in doing that, I'll put the email address and the website up on the screen. But Kenny, thank you once again for joining me. Couldn't thank you enough. Appreciate you. Thank you for inspiring me as a little kid.
not a problem.
And I'm glad all these years later you're still doing great, and can't wait to see what you're up to next.
Yeah, and I'd like to quickly say thank all the race fans out there, because without them race fans, we wouldn't have our sport. And them fans are so loyal, and they're dedicated to you, and they all buy you T-shirts and your hats and everything. So we really enjoy them, and glad to have them.
Yeah, hopefully we made some more race fans out there. If you've never been to a race, get to one. You'll surprise how much you love it. Maybe you'll get the bug too.
That's
Thank you, Kenny. I'll see you next time on GoalTime.